Tonight, the man who has been leading the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo for the last 20 years says he still has so much work to do before he retires. The zoo recently announced CEO Bob Chastain would be retiring in 2 years, beginning the search for his replacement. I met with him to learn more about his remarkable career and the culture he's created there that's been described as nothing short of magic. You've walked here for so long, Bob. Will you ever get tired of walking these huge paths?
No, it's a beautiful place.
Bob Chastain has spent the last 3 decades of his career at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in Colorado Springs.
In this case, moose are very protective. A hiker shot his mom.
He's quick to tell you a story about each animal, many of them orphans, and how they got here.
These also came as orphaned animals.
Chastain's career at the zoo started in 1995.
My job originally was curator of horticulture, which means I took all of the plants inside and outside the exhibits and took care of those.
Over the next 10 years, he climbed the ranks to the top, taking on the role of Chief Executive Officer in 2005, a goal he made for himself 5 years earlier.
I started taking on exponentially more responsibility, including all of the construction. And so the giraffe exhibit, which we're famous for, was the very first project, big project that I managed. And the children's area that's still working today, My Big Backyard, was the actual very first project that I was the project manager on.
It must give you great satisfaction when you see so much joy here.
100%, yeah.
But perhaps his greatest satisfaction is the story of the lives changed by visiting the zoo. That includes a military child named Grace with sensory, speech, and motor disorders who recently made a special trip back to the zoo from Kansas City.
Their daughter at the time was around 4, and she had enough anxiety socially that she really wasn't speaking, and she began to speak largely at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo.
And welcome to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo.
Those life-changing moments happen for countless animals, too. The zoo's Quarters for Conservation program, created in part by Chastain, now puts 75 cents from each ticket purchased back into conservation efforts around the world.
Now we're doing about $1 million worth of conservation work in the field every 18 months.
Chastain has seen much of that work in person. One of those projects includes a zoo partnership with the Tsavo Trust in Kenya.
So what is special about Tsavo? Well, it's big and it's vast. It's 42,000 square kilometers of wilderness area.
He says the zoo has sent nearly $750,000 to the Tsavo Trust, which helps to protect 10 of the last 30 super tusker elephants left on the planet.
In Africa, all the big ones were poached out. There is an area in Tsavo, which is a park the size of Switzerland, and they do aerial surveillance of that so that they can keep an eye on those animals.
In the meantime, Chastain knows he has a lot of work to do until he retires in 2026. Over the next 2 years, the zoo plans to spend $50 million in renovations to make what he calls the world's best home for the animals that live there.
I walked up to the zoo on the weekend one time, and I was telling my wife all the things that I wanted to do. And she stopped in the middle of the road and said, "I'm confused. Are you leaving or not?" Because I have endless amounts of ideas about how to make the zoo better. And so I'm still excited every day about the work. And I'm not leaving because I'm not excited about the work, but because I just think it's time for a leadership change.
His leadership defined by what he says is a relentless pursuit of doing the right thing, a promise to himself that became even more challenging during the pandemic when he decided to keep all employees on staff during the 3-month-long shutdown.
What I didn't realize was how hard it would be to know what the right thing was. And that is difficult to this day. Was the right thing to shut down because of COVID? Was the right thing to stay open because of COVID? Was the right thing to not lay employees off, to lay employees off? Every decision is 50 times harder, I think, when you're committed to doing the right thing, because there's many factors that weigh into that.
You said you will most fondly look back on creating a culture that is nothing short of magic.
Yeah, that gives me chills thinking about it, because I think that it's the thing in life that I'm sort of most interested in is creating a microcosm of what I would think a great community is here. And I see indications that we're on that right road. I don't think anybody arrives there and then they get to coast, but I think that I can see that, and enough employees are saying that it makes me just continue to be more and more motivated to try to pursue that.
Chastain says about 800,000 people visit that zoo every year. When he started, that number was around 360,000. He says they limit the number of guests each day to about 4,500 so people have a more enjoyable experience with the animals there. He shared with me the best time of the day to visit the zoo is between 3 and 5 p.m. when fewer people are there and the animals come out one more time to eat before the zookeepers leave for the day. To learn more about the conservation efforts of the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, go to KOAA.com.